Welcome, take two.
Take two.
Sometimes
Some technical difficulties, you know.
Sometimes you have technical difficulties.
You just got to work with it.
You push through it.
Yes, sir.
It's like a marathon.
Yep.
Not a sprint.
It's not a sprint.
Well, I got you here, Rudy Kalma. I got some music for you to perform and tell your story through.
All right.
Pupunta tayo sa Amerika. Sasama si mama, sasama si ate. Pupunta tayo sa Amerika.
Yes, yes. My name is Rudy Kalma, and this is California Genesis of the Labor of Love. Yes, yes, landing on this earth, the beginning of my verse. Since a young child, I've been grappling my curse. Gravel on my shirt, it's that Filipino dirt. My mama took me out to fly to California earth. Still I went to church, yeah, my titas love the word. My uncle was a priest and his homily superb. This before I sat and rolled my own and sipped the milk to grow the bones. Before the quill took all my ills and helped my nerves. Dudes who rock your boats, Kobe rockin' 24. FM radio, the bone, Laffy Taffy, Rolling Stone. Southern music had the throne. Monte Ellis was the pro. Simply uniforms, khaki slice was just a no. Daly City in the soul, fundamentals of my pros. Parents had devotion, my pops was sipping loads. Slipping on the slope, but I'm chilling on the coast. California coast, it's that California flow. And that's California for ya. Everybody in your city wave, hey. Every city very different wave. Yes, yes, that's California for ya. Everybody in your city wave. Mic check, mic check. Yes, sir. California coast, but I don't know how to float, let alone know how to stroke. Doggy paddling the most, flowing on the low, pen and paddling. I roll steady, mastering the flow. Over rapids I uphold, foundation of the knot. Yeah, never slipping over to the mission I would go. Bar to 24 I wrote many quotes, but I was so but Joey let me vibe. Exhilarating ride and debilitating time. Accumulating brine, filling up my vacant mind. Chasing the divine that was hurt from my divide. Renovate my shine as I regulate my pride. Open up my eye that could open up the sky. It's that good labor, the labor of love. Thank the above for the flavors and such, yeah. It's Rude Boy from the ash and the cyclical dust. Keep it a buck, motherfucker, is you feeling that bump? That's California for ya. Everybody in your city wave, hey. Every city very different wave, huh? I'ma hit up every city. That's California for ya. Everybody in your city wave. Every city very different wave. I'ma hit up every city stage, yeah. Yes, 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 that is California Genesis.
Off the Labor of Love album.
Out now.
Available where I found it on
Check mo
SoundCloud.
yung email mo baka may tumating na dun sa citizenship mo.
Oh, check mo,
Baka mapalagpas natin yun. Sayang yung pera.
I did.
Okay, check mo.
I'm a citizen now.
Hey.
Yeah.
Okay, let me just get into it. Can you please tell me a little bit about that lullaby? Pupunta tayo sa Amerika. Okay, Tagalog. I remember hearing it when I was listening to Labor of Love, and I was like, oh shit, we got some Tagalog on here. Okay, he repping. Tell me a little bit about that.
So I was born in the Philippines. I'm from Pangasinan, Santa Barbara, Pangasinan. And that was just, we came to America when I was 5 years old in the year 2000. And that was just a lullaby my mom would actually sing to me. And it was actually funny because she, I don't know why, but it was always comforting to me. Like, you're looking to move. I was excited to move. I was excited to go to America because, like, even in the Philippines, your perception of America is being given to you by television, and I was like a big wrestling fan. I was like, yeah, wrestling's in America, the WWF, what it was before, now it's the WWE. And,
you were watching a lot of wrestling in the Philippines?
Oh, yeah. Stone Cold, The Rock, the Attitude Era and stuff like that. Hell yeah. But yeah, that was just something she would sing me at night, and she would. So basically, it's just we're gonna go to America. your sister's coming with us, I'm coming with you, we're going to America. That's like the translation of it. But when she would sing it, she would add like different people, like, and like we used to have dogs, and so she like sasama si Torbo, sasama si Storm, pupunta tayo sa Amerika. And then she lied to me. They didn't come with us. She fucking lied to me. I got
Because that
played.
shit's expensive to bring a dog.
Yeah.
man.
So I mean, I was sad when I figured it out. I think she kept up the lie to like the airport, and then I was like on the plane, and then she's like, "We're not bringing them."
Oh my God. So
Yeah.
you were 5.
I was 5 years old.
How come y'all immigrated? Like, what was the story behind it, and how did y'all immigrate?
I guess it's like the typical like American dream. They had my sister at a very young age. I think they were like, my mom and dad had my sister when they were like 15, 16 years old, and so my dad was the first one to move here first.
Your parents had your sister when they were 15 or
Yeah,
16?
yeah.
Oh,
and so my dad looked to America to go find work, and I guess that was the plan all along, that to bring them over. Since then.
So your dad was here already working?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, so when your sister was growing up in the Philippines, he was over here working, and then
Yeah.
he's the one who was able to like get y'all to immigrate here.
And also just like the help of our titas, and a lot of them were here in the 80s and stuff. They came here, and then they were like, my dad has been all over the place, like Chicago, and then they drove to Nevada, and then ending up in California and San Francisco, and then Daly City area and stuff like that. So
And so when you moved here, where was it first?
When I moved here?
When you moved, yeah.
when I moved here, we were off of Hillside Boulevard in Daly City. And that was my tita's house on my dad's side, and we all shared, all of us shared this, the 4 of us at the time. My brother wasn't born yet. I have a little brother, and we shared like a small bedroom, and we stayed there for a while, and then eventually we moved to Westlake in an apartment. And it was like one room. I think it was just a one room apartment, but there was like a noticeable living room and a kitchen area and stuff like that. Stayed there for a couple of years, and then we moved to this street called Abbott Avenue near Susan B. Anthony Elementary School.
So you Daly City local.
Yeah,
You
Daly City, like moved around, and then now where my parents live is actually Kalma. It's like right between where Mission turns into El Camino and vice versa.
Like, I think we always say it's Colma. Oh, there's a lot more dead people there, right?
Yeah.
But I still feel it's Daly City. I still feel like you can't get out of the strength of Daly City in a way like, oh yeah, you're Colma, but you're still Daly City.
Yeah, I think it's more so like a township more than like an actual like city,
Yeah.
But I still consider it, Daly City.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Once you have all the Filipinos surrounding you, you're like you're Daly City. Right?
Yeah.
So did you go to like Westmore, Jefferson?
No, I went to Reardon High School actually.
Oh, where is
So
that again? Is that
that's
in
in
the city?
San Francisco? Yeah, right across from City College.
How come if you were living in Daly City, like was it a San Francisco address? Like
No, I mean it was a private school.
Oh,
It was
okay.
It's a Catholic school.
Okay.
And so, I've been in Catholic school since the 3rd grade.
Damn.
And so, when I came here, I didn't do kindergarten. I went straight to 1st grade, 2nd grade, and that was in JFK Elementary, which is near, like, if you're gonna go to the San Bruno Park, the mount. Is that
San
what
Bruno
it's-
Mountain? Yeah.
Yeah, the mountain area, not San Bruno, but
Yeah.
the San Bruno Mountains.
Mountain,
It's
yeah.
on the way there, and so that was my only public education, and then I went to Holy Angels for a period of time, and then Our Lady of Perpetual Help. My family's big like Catholic
Religious,
background.
yeah.
My tito is a priest, so
I think you mentioned that
Yeah,
in
yeah,
one of
I
your
do.
tracks, right? His homily superb.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
yeah.
And do you think that affected how you grew up, like your point of view, like immigrate, especially considering yourself an immigrant and then assimilating here? Like, what was it with that perspective of going to like Catholic school?
Well, thinking back on it, I mean, it was a great privilege. 2 of my titas, they're not married, and they kind of they're like my second and third mom, and I would go to them every weekend, and they showed me like, eating out and going to church and like doing things like a family would do on a given Sunday, and spending the weekend and going sightseeing. And I really experienced that with them because my parents were always working. But and then the Catholic side of things, yeah, definitely. I mean, it's just embedded in me, like I'm just so influenced by it. And the crazy thing is that I don't consider myself Catholic. When I turned 18 years old, I actually told my family, like, I don't want to be Catholic anymore, which is a whole nother story to talk about. But it's still a big part of my life, and a lot of the things I allude to and like metaphors, you'll still feel that presence, the presence of the Lord.
Yeah. Yeah, I have also a mixed relationship with it, where I do feel only recently I've been returning to an idea of a higher power.
Yeah.
There's something that I need in terms of a spiritual relationship with something, though the institution itself I'm not the most hype about. But also at the same time, I feel I've been in so many sermons that I can start sermoning like in that way, that cadence, when I get on a rant and start preaching about like what is right, what is social justice, da da da, and I'm like, oh shit, I sound like a preacher. It's been so ingrained with every Sunday.
Some of them are beasts though.
Some of them are beasts. Like I like the funny ones. Yeah. That's the ones that can like drill you in with a certain principle, but can make you laugh too and engage.
And I think part of it too was what there were still, when I was in elementary and junior high, they were Filipino priests, and then so at least I had that connection with them, and I feel like they were coming from a place that was more genuine than most people, right? And then in high school it was just a bunch of like white priests and stuff like that, and then
so you would be going to high school at that school, but then you would be going to churches where there's Filipino priests.
Yeah,
like on the
so
weekends?
like yeah. So when up until the point where I wouldn't stay at my titas anymore, but we would go to the same church, which is Our Lady of Perpetual Help, because it's nearby Hillside. And that's where I would stay over the weekend when I was a child.
Because your parents were working,
and then they just wanted me to be supervised or whatever.
So you were around a lot of Filipinos already when you moved here.
Yeah, no doubt.
Okay, so you had like a extended family, like a lot.
I have 2 aunties. One that lives I think by San Bruno. I never understand where her address is. I don't know why. She gets frustrated because I ask her like where her address is. Like, how do you not know this after all these years? Like, I don't know. It's just the streets to me. But she
Do you
lives.
still have to put it into the GPS?
Yeah. I still have to do that. I get lost, but it's funny as a Lyft driver. But but the one I stay with is in Hillside, and then I have another tita who's married, and she has a kid, and she lives in Pittsburgh near Concord, and
it's
and San Jose too. My mom's side.
That's where a lot of Filipinos are. It's interesting talking to different people, especially if they're immigrants, and then seeing how much of influence like the environment they were in was for them growing up, but specifically if they were around other Filipinos versus if they were not.
I see.
Right? And because you could easily move into an area where there's not a lot of Filipinos, maybe it's just your family or even your maybe at least aunties, versus Daly City, which is like Mecca of Filipinos with their 2 Jollibees.
Yeah.
Right? One just down the street.
That's my joint right there.
Before this session, I was legit thinking, do I have time to go Jollibee like that? And I was like, I'll go after. I'll go after. It's just right there.
Yeah, you should have gone, bro. We could have split on a bucket.
I know.
I would have matched you on that.
We should have been doing it mukbang, bro. Like eating on the podcast.
Yeah.
Maybe next time. Maybe next time. Session number 2.
Some ASMR.
With the skin. With the skin and the gravy.
It's crispy. It's crispy for sure.
Can I get you to do your next track? You actually have a plethora of tracks.
I'm all about performing, bro.
So I wanna get this second one, and it's still also off Labor of Love.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and it's actually I am pretty hyped. There's around 3 songs that on that album that I really like, and this is one of them.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
So,
Cool.
Okay.
Mic check. Yes, yes, this is called B4. For all my reminiscers out there. Hey. Yeah. Everybody got their simple time, slipping slides or whatever. Yeah, I've been missing all the simple times, never worried about the weather. Yeah, television during dinner time, never said that we were perfect, never said we wasn't hurting. Many days it was discouraged. I was in penny a penny pinching, feeling every cent leaving my pocket. I remember watching penny spending via credit card option. I hope I be making a profit by now. Yeah, feeling so deep in the ground. Yeah, I feel like I'm losing around. Yeah, no matter how steady the bounce, I've been thinking I've been missing. I don't know why we focus on glory days, but we can shine any given time. Reload your mind, the frames you cannot replace. You realize you are in the now. I don't know why we focus on glory days, but we can shine any given time. Reload your mind, the frames you cannot replace. You realize you are in the now. Way before messing with Pro Tools, spiky hair like I was Goku. Time to time I had a bow cut, reset something no good. Never felt like I was local, losing money had to go move. Stubborn boy having no cool, this before recording vocals. Too short to whip the go-kart. Follow my mama insisted they shopping Louis, Gucci, Prada and so on. Pretty wallets in a slipper, she told me I get what I want if I worked hard. Wanted to cop me some games, chicken teriyaki all in the plate. Yummy deli every lunch, never want to stunt, but I'm doing stunts, flipping at the schoolyard, trying to make an impression like doing some stretches too hard. Something I never excelled at, I wanted to transfer my talent to Juilliard. Practice my upward inflections, the early stages of a month, my reflection of what is the evidence of my very essence. I don't know why we focus on glory days, but we can shine any given time. Reload your mind, the frames you cannot replace. You realize you are in the now. I don't know why we focus on glory days, but we can shine any given time. Reload your mind, the frames you cannot replace. You realize you are in the now. My auntie and I sit inside the side watching Special Victims Unit Monday night. It was really time for the main event, pedigree stunner or suplex. Maarte ako pag tinalo ako sa laro, ya mainit ang ulo. Sister was like, masapiyo ka nga, mabaho ka din, maligo ka rudo. Younger brother getting grown, he may be a little tall. I remember he was small, rock the cradle, keep him calm. Now he busting on his own, reminiscing about the box office when my pops watching. Bart walking up the fog blocking, less stress, few hard options, yeah. I don't know why we focus on glory days, but we can shine any given time. Reload your mind, the frames you cannot replace. You realize you are in the now. I don't know why we focus on glory days, but we can shine any given time. Reload your mind, the frames you cannot replace. You realize you are in the now. That's B4, produced by Seijo Froggy of the Rogue Wave Collective. That's my homie right there. Yeah.
Shout out to Collective.
Yes, sir.
Rogue Wave.
Rogue Wave Collective.
Who do you want to shout out from there? Who's in that collective?
So right now it is Seijo Froggy, Don Swayze, Malachi or King Harla, otherwise known as Sleepy, and Alex Cannon and Quinn Harris. Man, it's a bunch. We run deep.
How do you get involved with them?
So I was performing, I started performing live in University, UC Davis, and that's my alma mater. And so that my freshman year, my first time performing was at this spoken word open mic. It was spoken word centric, but it was for anybody. If you play guitar, you can go. But it's called Six Bits, and that's actually the same spoken word like open mic and like group Ruby Ibarra, kind of like her roots were there too. That's her. We went to UC Davis,
UC
but
Davis pumping out some artists, fam.
Yeah.
And they got the Filipino Studies Center recently. You seen that?
I haven't visited
Bulosan
yet.
Center.
I gotta check it out.
UC Davis, bro.
Yeah. But so, fast forwarding to senior year, I've been doing all these performances, meaning, I get some bigger opportunities. And every year for, freshman welcome week, they have this event called The Buzz. I think it's named something different now, but it used to be called The Buzz. And they would have one headliner that was like usually some type of electronic, like EDM artist, because that was kind of like the wave. And they'd have student performers as well. And I was one of them. And I got picked up by my homie Tavir Maury, otherwise known as Dante Adisa, and he pretty much brought me along in the group, and I was just like, all right, let's rock.
Dope. Can you talk a little bit about that song, right? I really like that song. Why do we focus on glory days?
Yeah.
All right. But in the beginning, you were saying a shout out to my reminiscers.
Yeah.
Right. But then you're in the song, it's kind of saying, why do we focus on the past if we got the now?
Yeah.
Right. And then when I was listening to that way back, I remember having like a little moment of like, yeah, man, because I won't name no one, but I know folks who be talking about the glory days in high school. I played this guy, this team, and I was so great, and all that. But then it's not where they're at right now, right? What inspired that song? What's the thoughts that you had about that, and what message you try to get across?
So, you mean obviously it's great thinking back on memories where you didn't have a lot of responsibility and things were kind of just taken care of for you. And that was just like my whole childhood. I was lucky and privileged to have a lot of people look after me, and especially like being funded to go to private school by my aunts and stuff like that. And so that's a big part of me. But then when you don't have that, that's when you start. You could stay stuck on the past, or you can just advance and just walk. Walk the path that is less traveled, or walk the path that is unfamiliar to you. So it's all about, you take the best lessons out of the past, and any trauma that you take, you carry with you, but also you try to learn from and turn that into, positive energy. But you got to keep pushing, you can't dwell on it, and you can't you can't turn back the clock no matter what you do. So there's no other alternative but going forward. So that's kind of like the message of the song, in terms of the hook. But obviously in the verses, I'm just talking about a lot of memories and just kind of enjoying my experiences as a child and the places I spent time going, like places I ate during middle school, Yummy Deli, top of the hill, Daly City. So yeah.
Do you meditate?
Do I meditate?
Yeah.
Not in the formal sense, but I'm a big thinker. I think about things a lot and I ponder. I think after all these years, I think I've realized that I'm kind of like a recluse. Like, I don't know if it's recluse or recluse, but just someone who is to themselves a lot.
A hermit.
Yeah, somewhat of a hermit. So when you're alone, you spend a lot of time talking to yourself, and that's a form of meditation, I guess, and just kind of getting a sense of where you're at. But in terms of formal, no, I don't do no chants or nothing like that. But I definitely consider myself meditative by nature.
The reason I ask is because this is one of my favorite songs off the album. Though another one is Elevation.
Oh yeah.
And in that you mentioned meditate, right?
Yeah.
In one of the lines, right? That, and the other one that I liked is Center. Try to find my center.
I use that a cappella for you too later on.
Hey, do it, bro. Yeah. And they all seem meditative.
Yeah.
If you think about it, be in the now, right? In this song, and then the find your center. That's basically what a lot of meditative practices try to do. Yoga, try to find your center, and then in Elevation.
So do you do some form of formal meditation?
Not as consistent as I would like.
But you do practices
yeah, but it's not like the humming or nothing. Sometimes in yoga I'll have the like that. But then the ones I would sometimes use is the app like Calm or Headspace, and they'll just guide you through of body awareness, or even just be aware of your mind, right? Or what thoughts are coming out of your mind. Because me personally, I am also very neurotic when
Yeah.
it comes to those big five personality traits that psychologists use to analyze. I hyperthink about a lot of things.
Same.
That's why I need to journal. I need to write music. I need to do poetry, like put things out, but it's
Yeah.
very meditative. But I also have benefited from practices of like, all right, just calm the mind, meditation. I'm not as consistent as I would like to be with it, but it's always something that calls to me or that I find personal relevancy to.
Yeah, definitely.
And benefit to. So that's what I was wondering. I was like, I wonder because it has those themes in the music. I'm wondering to you then, is the music your form of meditation? Like you writing, and what do you get out of the creation of music?
Yeah, I mean, when I was growing up, I feel like I didn't really have a voice to express myself and my emotions. With my family, I speak Tagalog, but I guess you would call it like kitchen tongue, where it's like I don't read or write like academically, and I can't speak as fluently as my parents. Or when you have like a nursery school education of Tagalog, then it's hard to kind of find words to be able to, say how you feel, your emotion, expressing your emotions to your parents and stuff. And so growing up, I didn't have a voice. And then eventually, I found hip hop music, and that became, listening as a fan, that became my form of meditation and reflection, and letting others speak for me, people who I identify with, and letting them speak for me. And then eventually I just started writing my own stuff, and then it was just instant addiction. And so now my music as a genre or style is definitely meditative in its core, because writing is my form of therapy and my form of centering myself and finding balance in my life and my emotions.
Shout out to this last song though, you were doing some harmonies to your chorus this time.
Oh yeah, I'm trying.
Right? Because I know how it sounds in the recording. You were going on that harmony tip. Do you sing? Do you used to sing?
Well, I guess every Filipino has experience singing, right?
Trick question.
Good question. We all superstars.
Have you gotten that 93 on the magic mic?
When you're like, kuha ka ng 90 and above, bigay kita ng 100. So, I mean, besides karaoke, which is a huge part of our life and party life, right?
Yeah.
When I was younger in the Philippines, I would do like singing competitions.
What?
Yeah. And it's funny, I had this vivid memory where I actually was nervous one time, and I hid in the bathroom for like 45 minutes. And then my mom pulled me out, and then I won. And then, so I had that in the Philippines, and then transferring over when I was in the 4th grade, I did choir for my church, for my school's church, and that was just for a year. And I was a theater kid. I had a theater background. In high school.
Here
in Reardon, I was part of drama, and I did two musicals. I did this original called Back to the 80s, and one
original written by
like the director of the drama department club, and also the drama teacher. And also I did West Side Story. When you're a jet all the way from. What's funny, because I was casted as a jet. I wasn't casted as one of the Puerto Rican guys. I was like, I guess.
Did you get to sing Maria?
No, I wasn't that guy. I was in a more supporting role. I had for Back to the 80s, I had my little, I did my little thing. That was before puberty too, so that was my prime, baby. Yeah.
Man, when we all could sing like Bruno Mars.
Yeah, when everyone could sing like him.
Before losing the octaves, and man, I remember being so sad when I started getting a little deeper voice, because I was in choir in high school too, and all the good solo parts were tenors.
Tenors, yeah.
Like once you get down to baritone, it's a little less. You're like harmony, and then
what are you considered as?
I think baritone.
Baritone.
Yeah, and then when
the next one's alto, right?
No, that's for so girls is soprano and alto.
Oh, okay.
And then for dudes, it's tenor, baritone, bass.
Okay.
And then I ended up becoming bass too, and then it's the boring shit. It's like doom, 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 and it's just that. Like for the whole time, I'm like, okay, it's important when you think musically, but it's not like, do you remember? Like the fucking melody of the song.
Like that's the moment, right?
That's
Those
the
are
moment.
big
That's
moments.
the tenors, right?
You kind of have to keep like this consistency with bass or baritone. That's just kind of monotonous sometimes.
Yeah. But that's what puberty does. I mean, people are switching it back. Shout out to Daniel Caesar for doing a little more lower key
He's a beast.
songs and bringing it back. So I actually hear a lot more melodic elements in your music versus other just strict hip hop rap artists.
Yeah.
And I think there's a influence there. Where do you think that's from? Is it the singing? Is it
Melody? I don't know if it's a direct, like, there's any direct influence. Maybe, I'm trying to gauge the taste of the times, and, melody is a big thing nowadays. And I consider myself like a vocalist, aside from being an MC, I'm a vocalist and I'm a writer. And so as a vocalist, you're going to have to want to adapt and learning how to do things and having some variation in how you deliver things and deliver lines, because the big moments are when things get really melodic and when it switches up and when you can do so much with melody. And so I wanted that to be a part of my music.
Dope. I'm gonna table that conversation because I'm gonna talk to you all about your creative process.
All right.
But I'm trying to go into a little history.
Okay.
How did you find hip hop? How did you find music? You said you found it.
Yeah.
What exposed you to it, and what began that process of writing for you?
In terms of music that I discovered and that I was searching for, yearning for, wanting to listen to, it wasn't until my freshman year of high school, because growing up, my older sister was actually pretty strict. She didn't want me to listen to any of like the mainstream hip hop.
How much older is your older sister?
It's funny. Between my siblings and I, we all have like an 8-9 year gap.
Damn.
So she's in her 30s. She's like 32.
So how many siblings do you have?
So I have my ate, and then I have my younger brother who's 15.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So there's
and
a
he lives
big
here.
gap.
He's in Colma with my parents.
Yeah, that's a big gap.
Yeah, big gap. Yeah, but so my sister didn't let me listen to a lot of explicit music for various reasons, and so because of that, I had this idea in my head that hip hop music at that time was my perception of hip hop. It was more so like an entertainment thing, like something to get the party going, and so I left it. I left it because I was thinking, oh, it has nothing for me. My sister tells me like this is just all this like, party music, misogynistic stuff or whatever. And it wasn't until freshman year I started, digging in the web. The internet's a beautiful thing, right?
Internet. They can't restrict you, man.
Yeah. I think I was looking up like deep hip hop. Because I liked the aesthetic, the sonic aesthetic of hip hop. It just like the beats were banging, hard ass snares and kicks, everything, bass lines. And so I came across people like Mos Def, right? I came across Mos Def, now known as Yasin Bey, and I was watching like this BET cypher, and it was Mos Def, Black Thought of the Roots, and then Eminem was in it. And so it's probably because he's white that it tripped me up so much, because it's such a predominantly black genre and it's black culture, a product of black culture. Eminem was like, oh shit, this guy's ripping it. Like I hear the reactions, audience reactions through the TV because it's like live. And there was like, oh. And I was like, dang, I kind of like how I bet that's a cool feeling. And so I looked up more of his music, and, I wouldn't say Eminem is like deep hip hop, like in a sense of his topics, his subject matter, but the way he relentlessly expressed himself in such a non-apologetic way really like hit me hard. And it was that time, it was the recovery album era where he was recovering from addiction. And so he had that song, Not Afraid. And so, at that given time, I was like, okay, like he's like, this is the power of hip hop, because he's using it as a means to
convey this message to people struggling with addiction that you can overcome it. And I was like, okay, like there's more to this. Like I can keep looking like in people's catalogs, look up Mos Def, look up Tupac Shakur, Lauryn Hill, Outkast. You know, I consider myself a student of the game, so I look everywhere for just like great writing. You know, that's what it was. Like I really tune in with great writers. So big influences be Eminem because he's such an unmatched wordsmith, and also his aggression, right? His aggression and his honesty were things that stuck out. And like Mos Def was someone that talked about the streets in a conscious manner and in a really like put it in like a worldview of like what the ghetto, how people influence the ghetto and how the ghetto influences others. And like Tupac Shakur, you know, it's just like you name it. There's just so much now. And it opened my mind and it opened my, and again, it goes back to letting them speak for me. And it was just, I was taking all of this in, and I was learning more about myself and navigating my identity a bit more. Yeah.
Isn't it crazy how music sonically can give so much information? I feel like there's a lot of education that's happened in life just because of the music, especially hip hop.
Yeah.
Especially hip hop and the topics that are talked about there.
Like stylistically too, because I'm so in love with writers. Hip hop I really tuned in with that genre because there's so much to say within the music. There's so much space. Whereas, you know, like R&B and stuff like that and other genres when you're singing, there's not a lot of like lyrical content in the sense where, you know, it's they just get the message through in a different manner. Where in hip hop you can fit all the words that you want. That was my big thing, right? I was just trying to fit so many syllables, and you can kind of see that in you can still see that in my music right now, that I have that big like wordy like kind of flow and stuff like that, just rhyming and rhyming and rhyming. But yeah, I was really interested in that when I was that caught my eye, caught my ear, I guess.
But you let the beat breathe a little more now, and you switch it up. You switch up the flow and the delivery and the sonic aspects a lot. Yeah. And that's a little teaser for one of the last two tracks that we're gonna hear later on, fam, which I'm psyched. Yeah. Hint, orange cover album, cover art. When did you start writing though? And what sparked that?
I remember early memories of me having the composition journal, and I was writing like art.
Was it the black and white?
Yeah. And I was the wide ruled one.
Yeah.
Whenever I look at wide ruled paper, I'm like disgusted. I'm like, no, college rule, bro. But I remember early memories of me writing like love songs, like poetry and stuff, like R&B type stuff, because I was listening to Mario. Is that how you say his name? Mario. And you should let me love you. So I was big on that.
That's a classic Phil Am, bro. Every Filipino American knows.
So that was my thing. And then I stopped. Like, that was just like a short period of time. And then fast forward to high school, you know, I was listening to all this hip hop. Freshman year came by, nothing. Because I think I was involved in theater so much, that was my focus. Freshman year, sophomore year. And then junior year, I started experimenting with poetry, but I wasn't really performing it. I was kind of just rambling on paper, you know, just like my thoughts. I think I was talking about like conspiracy. I was listening to a lot of Immortal Technique, and so I was like, the government's a scam, la 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 la. So that's what it was. And then senior year was when I actually started to write to beats off like beats that are already songs, or like, you know, type beats before they were type beats.
What year was senior year?
That was 2011 to 2012. So I was class of 2012. And so that's when I started writing. And one of my first songs was writing to Touch the Sky by Kanye West. And again, it's just like influenced by a lot of conscious content and rappers and stuff. But yeah, that was my first memory. I don't even remember what I said, but it was really whack. But I remember showing it to my homie Tommy, and he was like, "You should keep going with this." And that like fed off that, like the fact that he affirmed what I had to say. Right? Yeah. I was like, "Wow, this is a great feeling." Like, I felt like I had something important to say and let out. So I just kept going with it, and that's when I started hanging out with my manager more, Joey. and he is the creative director and CEO of Urban Native Era. And I don't know if you've looked into them, because I would tag him and I would tag like his company, but he focuses on, he's Native American. So he focuses on the Native American platform, media, clothing, and just like being involved with all things related to that. And so that was, that was kind of like, he was only making beats though, senior year. He was only making beats.
He went to the same high school as you?
Yeah, same high school, Reardon High School. And that's when I met him, and he had a microphone. He had a microphone and interface, the 2i2 Scarlett at the time, right? And he had the program. No, I had the program. I didn't have the microphone though. So I would go to take BART to 24th and walk all the way down. I forgot what his cross street is. Just be in the Mission, and that's where I started writing a lot of songs, like putting out like my trash mixtapes from back then. And that's where I was developing myself.
Are they still online?
One of them is. One of them is. I'm not going to tell nobody yet. I'll let that be something like,
a hunt? Scavenger hunt.
Yeah, scavenger,
okay. You can't take it down.
Yeah.
You need to leave it up.
I'm going to leave it up. Okay. I don't think I think I've deleted enough to enough like evidence of that past to where it's going to be a challenge. So I'll leave it to people to go search for it. I can tell you though. I can show you, but
okay.
I'm not willing to share that right now to the people. So
prize for the person who finds it.
Yeah.
So you started writing when you would go into the Mission to your friend's house and all that.
Like real raps, like hooks, verses, and stuff like that.
That was senior year high school?
Senior year high school.
And then when did you start performing more? You mentioned a little bit when you were in at UC Davis.
Yeah, so that was freshman year. And my first performance was a winter quarter, 6 bits. And it was just a spoken word organization and group. So they would travel, like the core 6 bits, like members would actually travel elsewhere and, do their spoken word and shit. But they hold open mics, every other week. And so I started doing that. And that's kind of like where I started training my live performances. And I kept going until different organizations, different coordinators started hitting me up to perform at other places. Yeah.
What did you study at UC Davis?
So I majored in English, critical theory, and then I did my minor in African American studies.
Oh.
Yeah.
What'd you get out of that? How come you decided to do that minor too?
I don't think I could say that, rewinding back to the person I was in college, I don't think I knew it yet, but I was trying to get a sense of, I listen to people like Nas and Pac, and I hear things like, I see no changes. I wake up in the morning and I ask myself, is life worth living? Should I blast myself? And I was like, why would he say that? Like, what circumstances is he in? Why does he feel trapped? Or why does he feel like he has suicidal thoughts? And obviously, it stems to like the brain, just the overall thing of like mental health and stuff like that. But you are also a product of your environment. And so I wanted to understand more about like the environment that, Black folk in America and just worldwide, but just like focusing in America, like where they were coming from, so I could kind of get a feel for it and genuine understanding. And I think that helped me with my ethics, I guess, my morality, and the things that I choose to say and the things that I choose not to say. Because there was just a lot of content that I never thought would be true. It was never expressed in school, in my middle school, high school. And so, minoring in that definitely shaped the way I perceive things and my I guess my artistic license in a sense, because again, I am a, Filipino person in a predominantly Black genre and culture.
How do you feel about navigating that kind of position within hip hop as somebody who's Filipino, but in a culture predominated by African American Black musicians and arguably rooted in the African American experience in New York with the Afro Latino influence as well, Caribbean?
Yeah, I mean, I think to this day I still think about it kind of struggle with it. Sometimes I feel like, am I deserving to be on this platform? Am I authentic enough? Is my experience authentic enough to be put side by side with another person? But that was deep in my mind, like, growing up in school and stuff, and writing music, and I was really like paranoid about that. And I guess the one thing that kind of helped me feel more comfortable in the space was by actually going to these events where it was being coordinated by Black folks and stuff like that. And it's basically like the idea of like going to your turf and then just showing out, just like see what happens and see if you're gonna see if they don't mess with you, like if they get a sense you're not authentic and stuff. And I was getting more invites from folks around that circle, and I felt a little more comfortable. But I still definitely think about it to this day, about my place in the genre, in the larger culture, right?
Could you give me what's the difference between Rogue Wave Collective and the native urban
Native Era?
Urban Native Era and Rogue Wave Collective?
Well, Rogue Wave Collective is like a unit of artists, and we're mostly dealing with music, but we have graphic designers, cinematographers, and stuff like that. But it's music. It's all focused on music. Whereas Urban Native Era is just it happens to be my manager's company, and that's what he runs. And some of the resources he has there, he helps me out and kind of like shares it with me. Stuff like that. So that's non-music, even though they're doing Urban Native Era.
So the Urban Native Era is non-music.
Yeah, he's not producing music. I'm just being managed by Joey, who is the CEO of Urban Native Era.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So in terms of this professional career, like direction, where do you see yourself taking music? Since you do have a manager, you are in this world of performing consistently and all. What's your goal, and where do you see your direction going?
My ideal goal is to, I'm sure I'll spend some time in Los Angeles or like those big cities like New York, Los Angeles or whatever, or maybe even Atlanta, right? But I want to stay in California, within California, and I kind of want to I'm not big on like going to places like that and trying to make it, I guess, in a sense. And that's why I feel like it's great that the internet is here, because it gives artists a ton of reach and exposure without having them pressuring themselves to move anywhere. So I definitely want to stay. I want to be back in the Bay Area. So right now, I was raised here, but I live currently in Sacramento.
Oh, word?
Yeah, that's where I came from. I didn't tell you that?
Shit, no, that's a drive, fam.
Yeah, so I came from because I couldn't afford to go back. My parents live in an apartment. I am my own engineer, and I engineer for other people. I need a dedicated space with enough isolation to where no one's going to complain. A hole in the wall apartment here is like $1,500, $1,800 or more, right? And I can't do it at my family's just for the sake of being like, I feel uncomfortable, like just like yelling out and then paper thin walls and hear my dad like.
I'm trying to mix.
Yeah. So I moved to Sacramento because I got a nice hookup with a house where I have a room, and I actually make my music out of my garage right now. And so it's been really nice. No one complains. I have my space. My girlfriend lives in Sacramento too.
But I hear the prices are starting to go up in Sacramento too.
It's gonna change.
Yeah. I hear there's more developers going out there. I have a friend that commutes from Sacramento too for school, and she's just saying like there's a lot more development.
Yeah, you know what it is? There's so much land up there, and all these counties are developing fast. There's a county called Placer County, and I was talking to a passenger, driving Lyft, and he's like, yeah, it's one of the fastest developing, regions and counties in the United States right now, building a bunch of suburban homes. So it's going to change in 10 years. It's like 5 to 10 years, it's all going to change. And I think right now they're trying to figure out, because Sacramento and those regions are prone to flooding a little bit. So once they get that handled, you're going to start to see a lot more development and construction. Yeah.
Damn. Okay, so you. Thanks for making it out, fam.
Yeah.
I would not drive that far. Did you have a Lyft passenger on the way here?
No,
No,
I wish.
you didn't do that thing where you could.
You know, it's not as efficient as,
Not as
you would
efficient?
think it is.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, okay. So you, actually, I have music questions, but I want you to do a song for us, please.
yeah.
This one is called Pizza Man. I
Pizza
actually
Man.
saw a recording of you performing this on So Far Sounds, I believe. Okay, see, I do my research.
Yeah.
I seen this shit.
You on your Nardwar?
No.
No, not yet.
Not yet.
You don't be digging that deep.
Not that
Is it
deep.
worth digging that deep? That's the real question.
No, I already know all the deep shit of all Filipinos.
Yeah, right.
I don't need to.
You already know.
We've
bro.
all been palo, bro.
Yeah.
The only difference is what they use.
What they use. Yeah.
Chinelas, belt, or the bamboo.
Yeah, the bell is when you're in trouble.
The belt, bro. Whew. Let's not get into that traumatic shit, or else I'll
let's
need some therapy right now.
Let's not.
But we got Pizza Man. Let's go.
Hey yo, driver out.
Yeah. Oh, check, mic check, 1, 2. Yes, sir. Yeah. Yes, sir. Yeah. Whipping my Corolla, delivering your order. I couldn't catch the finals, NC Curry hit that floater. Walking through the solar, 89 degrees. Hoping that you tip so I can pay off all the fees. Caught up in a maze, I'm trying to come up on some cheese. Customer complaints about the quantity of cheese. Boy, like cheese. I try to keep it contained. The late nights get grimy and I'm feeling the strain. I mean, hey, at least I'm pulling my weight, but I be using all my pens up just to sign the receipts. I mean, sheesh. The time I live in is strange, but I try to hide my as up on my way. Hey, no, hold my spine, I go my way. I know my rights, I hold my fate. I know how rocks might come my way. I must not stop when the town has gotten all of the lights out. Hey, I'm still roaming down this road on my own. Yeah, I've fallen off the edge of my mind now. Hey, yeah, I'm holding on this note that I wrote. Yes. Deliveries to mansions and trailer park homes. Banging on the door is a motherfucker home. Deliver to undergrads who barely cook on their own. Reminiscing the camp through boxes of mediums. Put in a CD of The Chronic and bump it loud. Listening to Damn, The Bucket, listen to Cal. Studying many styles, summoning inspiration. Coming home in the night, pondering innovation. Avoiding intoxication and fearing that time is wasted. It could be a verse in an hour or 30 days. Lava the pearly gates, fire on murky plains. Afraid that I may tire, expire, or burn the page, yeah. I got some homies that I really wanna see, but I gotta get this honey in this colony of bees. Like, allocate this money to support the family. Like, only time relaxing when it's due to catch them sleep. When the town has gotten all of the lights out, I'm still roaming down this road on my own. Yeah, I've fallen off the edge of my mind now. Yeah, I'm holding on this note that I wrote. And when the town has gotten all of the lights out, I'm still roaming down this road on my own. Yeah, I've fallen off the edge of my mind now. Yeah, I'm holding on this note that I wrote. Yes,
Hey. And it'll be like, hey, can you just leave it by the door?
I've had that. That's real life.
You didn't add the skit here.
I didn't just
Yeah.
because I
Is this the cut, like a cut down version?
yeah, just a different version. Just because like sometimes this might be the version for like bigger performances where a skit isn't really necessary to have.
In the middle.
But in So Far Sounds, I had that skit for a couple of times. But yeah.
So you were a pizza man.
Yeah, so post grad, I was it was a hard time because I had just graduated and I was still working my student job, and there's a time limit on that. There's a certain
So you
point.
graduated 2017,
2016
2016.
summer. I did a summer session, so I graduated summer of 2016, and after that I had until fall quarter to find another job. So I was working at the gym, the activities recreation center in UC Davis, and so eventually I didn't find a job, and I was just kind of unemployed for a while, for a couple months. And so I was like, man, like I'm just kind of in the gutter right now, right? And so I just applied for Domino's because it was more than minimum wage, like you make tips and stuff like that. And it's a busy college town. And so they employed me, and I was grinding out for like a year and a half doing that job. But I'm thankful for it because, for one, that cool song came out of it, but and also because it was just gave me some time to breathe a little bit and not feel too much pressure, because I was making some pretty decent money. It was like $16-17 per hour, and
Plus tip, or
that's like with tip,
that's
like
tip, yeah.
And it also depends on the time of year and stuff like that. And I worked night shifts. I was closing all the time. So no matter what, I was always making above 15. And minimum wage was still like 10 or 10.50 at the time. And I know 15 here is nothing. 15 is the minimum wage here, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
Yeah.
just hit in San Francisco, but that's San Francisco,
San Francisco.
not
What's
Daly
Daly
City. I think Daly City's still around 10 to 12,
Oh, that's
something
weak.
around that. Yeah, yeah.
I feel sorry,
So we don't have those initiatives yet. The In and Out here though does starts at 16.
Don't
in
they have
Daly
like
City.
benefits or whatever? Oh, no, that's Trader Joe's. That's Trader Joe's.
Oh, okay, Trader Joe's
They
and
don't-
Costco is good. Out
Costco,
here, too.
yeah.
Yeah, I think they have benefits, like good ones too. Yeah, but other stores still like 10 to 11, like that.
Yeah.
At least you got a good song out of it,
Yeah.
and you performed that hella. Like I know I've seen
That was my single from the project.
and it came out like way before like the whole Labor of Love.
October 24th or October 25th.
So tell me, what was the process of this Labor of Love? Where did idea come from? How did you put the album together? The songs, the concept. Because let me preface, I got the homie. Shout out to I don't know if he wants to be named, but shout out to the homie. He was telling me, yo, Labor of Love was one of the top projects for him.
Oh, really?
Of that year. Yeah, man.
That's dope to hear.
Yeah. I'll let you know who said that after. But
Okay, cool.
we were like chopping it up
Yeah.
about the different releases, especially within Phil Am community and stuff. Like Labor of Love was on.
That's good. That's
It's
great.
solid, bro. It's solid.
That's great to hear.
So tell us, what was the original conception, the ideas, where it came from?
I think, performing all throughout, making music throughout university and stuff like that. You think you're gonna be at a certain point after you graduate, like you're gonna be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna have my manager, I'm gonna have performances lined up like all the time. That's gonna sustain me. I'm gonna make money off music purely. I'm gonna start making songs. There's gonna start getting some exposure, and the closer graduation came, the more pressure I felt, because music was not a sustaining like income, right? So I just felt so much pressure, and I was putting out these like some songs that I kind of didn't like. I just didn't mess with it artistically, and I felt like I was pressured because I wanted songs that wanted to bang or like entertain in a way that your average consumer would like eat it up, right? But it just wasn't working out either, right?
So you put out songs that once you listen to it, you weren't necessarily fully vibing with.
Yeah, and to me that was like, after I put out a couple of those. No, I only put out one. There's one song, and it's out, but I don't want to name it just because like. I don't want to make it seem like it's an insult to the producer or anything. It's purely just like an artistic choice, a self choice that like I made that was like the wrong choice, right? And I just think that shit was whack. So, and then just writing more attempts, the songs that have never been released, but just attempting to do the same formula. And I felt like that it hit me hard because I felt like I was betraying myself, like betraying my I guess my creative mind, or my purpose. I guess my original purpose was to seeking, therapy and being able to speak for others, and eventually being a figure where, like, if I was there with you too, and you look where I am. That's what I really try to make music for, aside from the therapy, but to also the kid that doesn't know how to express himself. Like look at me. You may not want to rap like me or like do music like the way I do it, but I am I'm a Filipino artist, like creating and doing this, and there's a path for you no matter what. So that's kind of like my goal is, or my impact that I want on people. But anyways, I was just really disappointed, right? I was really disappointed in the songs I was making, and then I made this song called Ano Ba. I don't know if you listened to that.
I don't think I've...
Oh, really?
No.
Oh, okay, so that was kind of like a big release for me. And I think it was inspired a lot by like Isaiah Rashad and from TDE, and Frank Ocean came out with Blonde, and I was listening to his stuff, and just I was really inspired from it, and it kind of recentered me. It's funny how you can kind of look at another artist and you get so much inspiration, and you feel like they had just gone through the shit you went through, and now you're like inspired. You're back on it, right? You're back on the path.
So you felt that with Frank Ocean's Blonde?
Yeah,
yeah,
no doubt.
It's a good album.
And Isaiah Rashad too, and so I made Ano Ba, and that was kind of like the preface to the labor of love, because after that I was just grinding. I was like, I'm gonna make songs the way I want to make songs that I love, because there was that period of time where I was trying to impress other people, like, and it was just too much of that. And so I really just went into myself, and as it's titled, it's a labor of love, labor of loving your art, labor of loving myself as a person and also as a creative. And just like a lot of it pushed me lyrically, musically, and it pushed me as an engineer too, an audio engineer, because I really spent so much time, like after I would listen to all my drafts, my rough mixes, delivering pizza, and I would compare to. It gave me the chance. That's why the pizza job was so dope, because I was listening to referencing. I had playlists. I was like, this is my reference, so I have my song and then a song that kind of sounds like it, and see if it matches up, if it competes. And so I was really just pushing myself. It was such looking back, it was so exhausting, because I'd be back from closing, it'd be like 2 a.m. or 3 a.m. and I would just be looking at tutorials and stuff like that. And that whole process, it's almost a blur right now, because I feel like I was just like blacked out. I was in the moment. I was just relentlessly creating. And that's kind of, right now I'm in the process of making another album, another project that actually I'm kind of firm with in terms of the idea and like a name for it. And kind of getting in that that zone. And like my girlfriend's kind of getting scared because I'm more busy. Like I'm more my mind is sometimes can be elsewhere, especially when I'm thinking about music. So it's gonna be this period of time where I'm gonna be in the zone again.
So you also mixed the whole album yourself?
Yeah, I mixed it myself. Yeah, like stems, everything. Like it wasn't just a 2-track, like a beat and then my vocals. Like I spent a lot of time learning about different elements of mixing and beating my head with books. And shout out to my girlfriend for purchasing the Waves Gold plug-in bundle for me.
Damn!
That was a game changer, right? And then eventually I started saving for more different plugins, right? And she actually got me my Pure Mix subscription for, music engineers. That is a educational resource, and they have famous mixers, producers come on and do tutorials of like real songs that they did, like Red Hot Chili Peppers and Pharrell and stuff like that. So, yeah.
Damn, you went the total opposite direction of a lot of audio engineers by getting the real version of the plugins. Because a lot of my engineer friends got the Cracked Waves bundle.
I had
of all
to. I have a thing where it's like I can't like bootleg stuff anymore, because it's like running into errors. Like I can't afford that. Like I can't afford to lose something while I'm on the path, on the trajectory, right? So I have
I'm not saying I have it, because this is going online. I'm not saying I have. I just know people that have the Waves.
Everything's legal out here. Yeah.
But that's dope, because me coming from more of the mixing background and like knowing the process of that, that's a very time consuming,
It is.
very almost hypnotic state when you are mixing, but also your ears change during the mixing process because it can also be acclimated to a certain sound, and then you don't realize that it sounds that way until 2 weeks later, and you re-listen to it. You're like, what the fuck was I thinking?
Yeah.
And then I have to lower this. The vocals are too high, and then you're like, okay, and you have to revisit.
It's such a crazy process. I wish I never even tried mixing because now I'm invested, right? And now I'm like committed and I want to just keep mixing and stuff like that. But man, it's a craft for sure.
You're
like anything else. Yeah.
Are you saying you mix for other people right now too?
Yeah. You know, mixing for the squad, mixing for other people I'm close with, I'm affiliated with and stuff like that. So there's going to be a lot that I'm going to have my hands on, which is a growing passion of mine.
Yeah.
And since I've been engineering myself ever since I started, I mean, legitimately, I got Pro Tools 2016. That was like my real start. Not to say you can't mix with anything else. Fuck what anyone says. You can mix with Adobe Audition if you wanted to. Music. That's where I mixed some stuff like mixtapes off that.
Live comes out good.
Yeah.
The mixing on live.
It's all about levels. It's all about levels, performance, levels, performance, and music. When it comes to the end of the day, you know.
I do not know a lot of artists that also mix themselves. But also coming from like the background of mixing, I do appreciate like good mixes, and yours definitely is. I can see the quality of it when you also reference that you use reference tracks. Like that's a big thing too. But when you were saying about that you mix for people and the people that you fuck with, like I've done work as a mixing engineer for projects that I don't really like, and that shit sucks your soul. That shit is so bad. Like when you have to mix for something that isn't really like dope, and then that's when I realized I don't want to be a mix engineer, especially live mixing. I did a live mixing gig down in LA, and then it was for this. I remember vividly in this bar for this old like 70s glam rock cover band where they came in with tights and they were all divas. I was like, this is not worth even this $20 an hour. Like I need to go back to like music that I like and stuff. And it is also a different experience when you are mixing something that you like. You can spend like an hour on something like this little passage and trying to get the levels correct, and you're like, fuck, it's already 2 hours in. That, and just time flies.
You lose time and you get tired too. Like, you know, it was like I speak on it a little bit too, but it was definitely like hurting my relationship, not just with like my partner, but also like friends, family and stuff, and not making a lot of time just because I was so into what I was doing. And when you are not doing that, you're exhausted. You know, it's like you have energy. At the time, I'm just going. I'm mixing. I have all the energy in the world, but once you're done and you gotta meet your parents or something, you're just like exhausted and you're like, oh, I don't think I can make it today. Or so yeah.
So you feel that process of labor of love also was a pressure on your relationships?
Yeah. But maybe that is what you have to go through when you are working towards one, your craft, but also, you know, loving yourself, right? You kind of have to stay within your space and, you know, work on yourself and evaluate yourself and kind of distance yourself from loved ones. Because then after that process, you're able to communicate with them better and you're more open to things.
How do you know when a mix is done?
It's hard to say. I don't have the answer for that.
Welcome to Pensado's place.
Welcome to Pensado's place. I want to be interviewed for that shit too. Man, you know, see, you are an audio engineer. You know some of the references and stuff like that.
You know your shit too.
Yeah. But what was the question? Sorry.
How do you know when your mix is done? Yeah.
I guess one thing I kind of gauge is if I close my eyes and I listen and nothing interrupts my listening process. So if I can get through a track and generally feel like, yeah, that was a cool experience. Like nothing seemed stagnant, nothing was too static. That's what it is. A static mix is like a mix that's has no movement, no like real groove change and stuff like that, no energy, right? So I guess now that's a real method that I actually use. But even if I am satisfied, I'll still just work on it, you know.
What do you start with on a mix?
So give after vocals.
In general.
In general?
So do you go vocals first?
Yeah. So I mean, The Labor of Love was not produced by me. So it was a bunch of different producers, including Seijo Froggy and also Sleepy, another dude in the squad, and anyone else. Yeah, just those two guys. But you know, I would start with, you know, getting the loop of the beat, and I'll write to it until the song is done, and then I'll start record my vocals, you know, the usual, like in some type of order, like hook first or verse first, and just do them one by one and stuff like that. And after that, I get the stems, because I hate mixing like two tracks, because it's just like so it's crippling. Like you can't do much with it, you know. But mixing with different individual multi-tracks, you know, that's when you can really refine things and also bring your personality into the mix. So like for anyone who wants to be a mix engineer, you got to start messing with some stems to discover what your like style is and what you really want to shine in it, because you can only do so much EQing, multi-band compression on a one beat file. But
it is cool. Some people have been putting deep tutorials on how to expand a on a 2-track mix.
Yeah, because
right?
technology is crazy now. You can do so much. Plugins do like 5 things at once, and it sounds great.
Yeah, they do. They expand one stereo track into so many different, like its own stems just by isolating certain pieces. I'm like, okay, but that's a whole another process.
Yeah,
that's a whole another process.
Yeah.
So when you go back,
So yeah, you know, I have all the stems, and then I'll do a general, gain staging. So just balancing the sound without no effects or anything like that. Just making sure everything's generally at the level that I would think sounds dope.
Throughout, so you do, or do you do automation also, like volume automation at the
Yeah, I would do volume automation. It wasn't heavy on The Labor of Love. It's more so now, because I have a small console, like a Mackie automated fader, and that's what makes it fun, you know. It's boring to do that shit on the mouse. Kind of just like fuck. Yeah. But I would do some automation, and but yeah, after I gain stage, I do some processing. That's when I start mixing down. That's the fun stuff. Mixing down the vocal, adding some finesse, some flair, some attitude to like different elements of the mix, and then mastering. I would master it myself too. It's a lot of responsibility, and I don't know if I pull it off well personally, but I also look at mastering as a separate craft that I'm trying to better myself at, because it's more than just making it loud. A lot of people are just like, just put a limiter on it.
So in your loudness wars, right, are you a negative 0.1 threshold limit?
On my limit, my limiter, on my final limiter, negative 0.3.
0.3, you go 0.3. Yeah. Okay.
Here's like a little gem that I discovered because inevitably you're gonna crush. In terms of competing, I listen to professional masters. They're all crushed. There's no way that a mix can be that dynamic and that loud at the same time, because 0 is 0. So you're just bringing everything up. Eventually, everything stops at a certain point, and then all of the quieter elements start pushing forward in the mix, and that's like a pop. It's also like that's like a pop sound. So a little gem I learned would be to have your kicks be the loudest. Have your kicks be the loudest. Have your bass like -6. This is all like super nerd shit. But have your bass like -6 below the kick, and then like
this
a snare.
This is pre-mastering?
Yeah, this is like this is your final mix. Like in my final mix,
you hit -6.
Not in terms of actual like decibel. Like my kick is the loudest, right? And that could be at anywhere on the master. Depends on how loud you export your mix, right? So I'll have my kick the loudest, and I'll have my snare and my vocal next, and then my bass will be surprisingly not as high as you think it would be, because once you start limiting that, your kicks are gonna get limited really hard, but everything else is still gonna like sound nice and dynamic and cool. And kicks are so low frequency energy. It's not too bad to limit that, you know.
Your bass was good in the zone.
Yeah,
in the zone. The
yeah,
bass stood out.
It's getting
well.
mixes are getting better for sure.
Okay, you and your nerd shit.
On
I
the
see.
nerd shit.
Respect. Okay.
Yeah.
So, do you see yourself still doing the mixes in this next project that you're doing, or I
Yeah.
know you're not gonna try to outsource?
No, not right
another
now.
mixer.
I can't afford that shit. That's really what it is. It's like, if I could, then I would, and that kind of leaves a certain level of responsibility out of my hands. But I don't mind, because I love mixing. Like, I love spending time, like, getting something right and just listening to a snare drum for like an hour.
I feel it.
Yeah.
So, in that sense, can I please have a performance of this? It's a shorter track.
Oh,
But
yeah.
it's called "See It Through."
Oh, I forgot I sent that. Yeah, we could do it.
Let's do this.
Okay.
Oh, I know this one.
Yeah. 1, 2, 3. You and me, we gon' see this through. We gon' take some L's, we gon' keep the groove. You and I, we gon' last a night. We gon' change our fate, we gon' roll the dice. You and me, we gon' see this through. We gon' take some L's, we gon' keep the groove. You and I, we gon' last a night. We gon' change our fate, we gon' roll the dice. I learned selflessness from my papa, got resourcefulness from my mama, got work ethic off of my sister. Hope my brother think a role model. Hope I work enough for my partners, knock these voices out of my head. Lola told me follow my gut, I may bust inside of your ribs. It's not pride providing conscience, nights of fighting with fears. Despite all of that, there were many times with a roof intact. No, true in fact, they have flaws, but it's difficult to stack cards at everybody at odds. Put yourself in their shoes, sprint and finish that strong. Boy, I doubt that at all. Hey, rat-a-tat, these cats claw. I'm gon' last a match and act tall. Y'all can't flatten me for that long, cause my battery don't lack charge. Shift my mind to find the bright stars, eating clips that dynamite to strike hard. Keep that spine aligned to fit a vine reply, but putting all your might to fly on. Ho, you and me, we gon' see this through. Hey, we gon' take some L's, we gon' keep the groove. Yeah, you and I, we gon' last a night. We gon' change your fate, we gon' roll the dice. You and me, we gon' see this through. We gon' take some L's, we gon' keep the groove. You and I, we gon' last a night. We gon' change your fate, we gon' roll the dice.
Hey, Rudy Kalma!
As often as I perform these songs, my memories can fade a lot sometimes. So I apologize for that. I actually forgot I sent that one in.
Oh, word?
Because I was rehearsing in the car. That's usually how I rehearse. I rehearse in the whip. And so I forgot I sent that to you. That was like a last minute thing.
Hey, all good, fam. It was a good performance still. I was listening to this song in the car, actually, coming over, because I was listening to Labor of Love. And I was getting Aquemini vibes from the beginning.
Yeah. Oh, like me. Oh, okay. I see. Is that one track? Me and you, your mama and your cousin too? Oh, okay.
Because it sounds a lot like the let's see if I remember it right. Unless I'm remembering Aquemini by the Outcast differently. It has like a similar vibe.
Boom, boom.
And I don't know why it's not playing. But tell me, what direction are you trying to take your music right now?
Direction. I just want to continue to perform live, get a lot of gigs, work on my... I'm a big album guy. That's really what I work towards. I'm pretty stingy with singles. I don't like to do a lot of singles anymore. I'm big on creating a nice like project. So that's the type of creative direction I want to take with my music. I kind of want to make an impact with like great projects.
So tell me now, you alluded to it a little bit, that you have another project coming up. You're working on it right now. Talk to me a little bit about what the process is like with this new one. Now that you've already had the experience of the first one, what are some of the new lessons that you probably have learned from Labor of Love? How are you approaching this new project, and what the process looks like? Give us a little insight for also with the framework of other creatives to learn from this.
Yeah, so I mean, for me, the Labor of Love conceptually was really entirely for myself, like straight up. Like I was really selfish with, if I love it, and like I'm just gonna put it out in the world, and if you don't like some of them, that's cool with me, but I really stand by those tracks. So
Wait, pause real quick. What was the time frame of the writing of the songs of Labor of Love to the release?
Oh, it was like a year and a half.
A year and a half.
Yeah.
Okay, from the initial conception idea. Okay.
Yeah. So with that, and then this next album. So the previous album, Labor of Love, I was really focusing on myself, and then this next album, I'm actually wanting to kind of speak on things within my community more, and kind of use my voice as a means of like educating myself, but being able to educate others too. And I guess I had to start with the Labor of Love because, I felt kind of lost, and I feel like I couldn't be a voice because I didn't have everything together. I wasn't centered, at that point, right? And so now with a little more confidence and being able to put out the previous project, I want to use my voice more to have a more societal message, I guess, so that's conceptually, that's how I'm approaching it. I'm also producing a lot of the tracks on this project. I have like 9 track demos right now, and I've produced like 8 of them. And it's crazy because they're coming so fast, but I know it's because I'm just trying to get the essential like stuff down with the beats, but I still have a lot of work to do in terms of adding more elements and automation, percussion, groove, focusing on groove. There's so much as a producer you have to focus on. That's why you got to respect your producers for show. And I kind of learned that. I learned that from the Labor of Love because I would see these stems, meaning I would see all these things stripped down, and I could like mute the melody and just hear the drums as like, wow, like this. Like the way he did this was tight. Like, oh, okay, so he did this here to make it have this type of impact. Oh, but he stripped it out at this, so it would feel this way. And so when I was mixing the Labor, I was learning a little bit more about the producing side. And then eventually I got interested, and I started thinking like, okay, I got to start producing myself too, because I don't know, for one, like I can just like depend on myself to get things done, and then in terms of like discipline and stuff like that, but also I want to be able to create some like moments and say like, yeah, like I thought about that, so yeah. And
so what is your process now? Like, do you set aside time in the day to like sit down and write? Do you have a schedule? Do you work off inspiration? What does the actual logistical process of creation and creative process look like for you?
Yeah, so for me, it's like there is different phases. There's learning, which is basically just me reading books, watching tutorials, learning concepts, practicing concepts, executing them, and then committing. And so those are like my big things that I do on a daily basis. So I could not make a beat for a day, but is because I spent 6 hours learning about Ableton, like the DAW itself, and like how to do things. And then but yeah, so now what I usually do is that I would just like make a beat. I don't make a whole lot of beats because maybe the type of person I am, if I just have too much, if I'm just creating too much, I start forgetting them, and like I feel like I just want to beat on that shit until I can clearly see if it has potential or if it doesn't have potential to go anywhere. And so I'm making the beats first, and then I write after. That's always how it's been. I never really write without a beat. I'll have melodies, like I'll record voice memos on my phone if I think of a dope melody, or if I think of like it's usually because I'm thinking about a beat, right? So, you know, I'm writing. What's funny is that I've written all of my project at the airport parking lot in Sacramento International, because that's where I would wait to go pick up passengers. So I think Lyft drivers are just kind of like seeing me. I'm just like, and they're just weirded out. I was like, what is this kid doing? I was like, is he talking to someone? Like, is he singing to himself? That's kind of been a change, actually. I've been writing at this fucking airport parking lot, and so I would write it or record it, and then after that, I'm writing in pieces. Usually I don't record until I'm done writing the whole song. But now I'm recording in pieces because I nuanced my my template a little bit for tracking to track better and just be more efficient at it. So now I'm doing things piece by piece, which is great because I can kind of sit on my words. It's different when you're saying it and different when you hear it when it's recorded.
So do you re-listen to it once you have like a mini demo?
Yeah, so like I'll have a hook, right? I'll just have a hook and I'll listen to that. I'll place it like generally like 16 bars after, and then the hook, 16 bars after, then the hook. And I'll listen to it at the lot, and then I'll just kind of come up with the verse. And then vice versa, you know, I'll have a verse and then I'll record it and then listen in the lot, and then I'll just come up with a hook.
You have a very intimate relationship with your car and the sound and right?
You know, I mentioned my car a lot.
Bro, that's the classic audio engineer space, like to listen to your mixes in the car.
Your car mix is arguably the most important.
Yeah.
You know, we do mix for laptops and mixing for phones, but the car is where everyone wants to slap their music, you know, like the aux cord culture, where it's like, yeah, bro, like what you got? What type of play? What kind of heat you got? Like bump that shit. So yeah.
And so when do you expect to have this, or striving to have this project done?
Hopefully by summer or fall. What's crazy is that the labor in terms of the song.
Oh, this year?
Yeah.
That's soon.
I know, right? Nothing's guaranteed, but
nothing is guaranteed.
Yeah, I know, right? Puns for days, right? I want to perform that, but I'm not good enough of a singer yet to.
What song title was that?
The Labor. That's the first song.
The first one.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite songs, actually. Some of my favorite songs I don't perform live.
It's very personal. There was a lot more family stuff in there.
That too, but also because I'm a big like advocate of sounding good live.
Yeah.
And as a rap fan, I could say that the live performances of a lot of rappers are kind of subpar. You know, even some of my like favorite artists, right? Some of them have their entire vocals in there. I'm like, what is this? Like, so some of my favorite songs I don't perform because I haven't had I don't have like the vocal confidence yet or the ability to really to sing that. Cause you know, that's with mixing, right? It has reverb and stuff. Like with the songs I'm performing right now, I could do that in any space. Like I can rap essentially without speakers, without any monitors feeding back to me. But singing is a little different. I need more help with that because I'm not that great at it yet. Yeah.
I appreciate that in terms of self-reflection as an artist and live performance. Right?
Yeah. I mean, J. Cole said it. It's like you make most of your money touring and merchandise. And if you sound like shit touring, you can have one tour, but if your whole reputation was like, oh, he was all right live, like I wouldn't go see him again. Guess what? Like, you're not going to be able to perform as much in the future. No one's going to book you for shit.
It's interesting how I've been to some concerts. Like I saw The Weeknd in 2012, I think, when he was either 12 or 13 when he was at Coachella. And then he was not good.
Yeah.
Like, and people were leaving.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But then a few years later, he just got better live.
It takes time.
Yeah.
It takes time, and live it's a different thing that I practice, you know? I put the same process studying and analyzing live performances as I do with just like the studio version of the music. I spend a lot of time. I'll rehearse a lot,
How do you critique yourself, and how do you assess yourself? Recordings like of your performance, or what other tool, and then what do you specifically look for in terms of assessing how you are artistically?
Yeah, so I mean, your delivery for that song is definitely important. So, and you can deliver things all types of ways, but you have to find the right way to deliver something for that given song. So I'm very picky. I do a lot of takes. Like I have all the time in my, again, it's a different craft. Recording is a different craft from mixing and writing. They're all separate things that you have to have mastery over if you're committed to doing that, right? So, I record, and once I'm satisfied with the delivery of it and like how I enunciate things and stuff like that, and if I'm, in tune, then I rock with it. In terms of live performances, I critique my movement. I critique my how much I'm pushing my vocal. Like sometimes you could yell something out and it just sounds hella hype. And it is hype, right? A lot of people don't really pay it. If you bring energy, a lot of people will kind of give you leeway on your vocal performance because you're giving so much energy. But I still wanna be clear and heard and audible. So I'm looking at my movement. I'm looking at my breathing. I'm looking at just a lot of things, just like just staying sharp on the stage and also on the microphone. Yeah,
it's like a reflective kind of process of you improving. It sounds like you also hold yourself to standards of the artists that you admire and that you seeing perform live and all that.
Like I saw, I would watch videos of Kendrick Lamar back in the day, and he wasn't the best live performer. He was getting a sense of where his voice was comfortable in a live setting, and I watched him during the Damn. I actually saw him live during the Damn tour, and he was fucking killing it. He was great. Like the songs where he had a lower delivery, he pulled off like perfect in that concert setting. Given that he has a lot more effects now, he has a big budget.
Yeah,
but yeah,
all the audio engineers to help support and all that. Bro, I saw Kendrick Lamar open for J. Cole.
That's wild.
And it was just him on stage, and people were like, okay, cool. Like that versus like, say that big performance, when was it the Grammy when he was in the prison? Yeah. Bro, like, and changing and different costume changes and all that, like, just blew up.
He leveled up, and it speaks to his longevity right now. Same thing with like J. Cole and Drake and all those guys who are sharp. Like when they're touring, they're sharp.
Speaking of leveling up, I think you leveled up with this recent release.
Oh yeah.
Can you tell me a little bit about the release before we actually hear it?
Yeah, so these two songs are part of a single release called What a Time. And it contains 2 tracks, which is Zone and What a Time, like self-titled, I guess. And for me, it was really just trying to get What a Time out because I'm speaking on a period of time where I was speaking on events of last year. Like I mentioned fires, I mentioned Nia Wilson, just like stuff from last year. So I really wanted to get that out. And so these are songs I also produced myself. And so I produced these myself with the help of a pianist and a trumpet player for What a Time. So they came in and just like transformed it and have made it so much better, made it so much jazzier, right? Sorry, I got lost.
Have you had a lot of experience already producing before this? Like your own tracks and what? Like how did you get to the point that you are able to produce these?
Yeah, I mean, I started producing last year. Like a couple months after the Labor of Love. Oh no, 2 years ago. It's 2019. That's crazy. So yeah,
Wait, when did Labor of Love?
Oh, 2017. Come out? Sorry.
When did Labor of Love come out? End of 2017?
Oh no, beginning of 2018. Yeah, January. So yeah, so I started a couple months after the Labor of Love, and I had Machine actually. That program, and so I was just really just playing around, doing some sampling and drums, getting a sense of the sequencer and stuff like that. And then it wasn't until maybe summertime I got Ableton, and that shit was just kind of. I felt like I was crawling like I felt like a baby again. You know, you when you develop a workflow that you just like are used to, but when you're learning something new, it gets frustrating. It gets frustrating because you're trying to do things that you think would be easy, but you don't know how yet, right? And
then you find out, oh, that's how you do it. That shit hella easy.
Yeah. It just takes learning, you know?
Yep. And totally different from Pro Tools.
It's different.
Ableton is a different beast from Pro Tools.
Yeah, Ableton I love it because it's so friendly to just creating at that moment. Whereas Pro Tools, you have to do a couple things, create bust it here, and stuff like that. But Ableton's tight in that sense.
But I cannot mix in Ableton.
Yeah, because I hate how it doesn't have the fader, the window. You know how there's that window and then the window, and then you have the window with a bunch of faders on it.
Yeah.
It has that, but you know how it has your inserts along the row?
On the top, yeah.
In Ableton, those aren't inserts for plugins. They're for clips, like MIDI clips. And so that was tripping me up. I'm like trying to press on it. I was like, I'm not trying to record MIDI right now. Like, I was trying to freaking use some effects. Yeah, and there's certain things too, how you can make enlarge your waveforms without changing velocity. And it's important when you're trying to like see what a problem is within audio and stuff like that. So yeah, I mean, they're both great at certain things. Honestly, I think if Ableton has a real playlisting system where you could playlist your
vocals?
takes, it would be pretty.
Really?
Give Pro Tools a run for their money.
I think it would if it also increased its waveform editing capabilities.
Yeah, like making enlarging
zooming
it
and like even fine tuning the fades and cutting out. I think that's the only thing that Pro Tools really has it on lock in terms of
because
waveform, the visualization of the waveforms.
Because when you're recording, you record low, right? And so if you're on Ableton, it looks so small that I can't see like breaths and like stuff like that, and it's just frustrating.
That's why I'm also amazed when I hear some homies like shoot me a mix. And they're like, yeah, I just did it in Ableton. I'm like, bruh, the vocals sound clean as fuck.
Yeah.
And then it's on Ableton, and I'm like, I can't do that.
It's just, I guess they just know.
They just learn.
I think Mike Dean did a lot of Travis Scott's work on Ableton, just like
even mixing it in there.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's see this. What a time. I think I'd like to hear both in succession. So
okay.
we can see it as a unit.
Okay.
Is that good?
Yeah, let me if you can lower the beat just a little bit and then bring up the monitor volume on your interface.
Gotcha, fam. So this is What a Time. I'm actually fanboying because this zone piece, this is gonna be like, I remember hearing it, I was like, bruh, this hits the spot.
Yeah.
And some of the homies like really liked it too.
Okay,
so,
cool.
Right here, dude, Filipino Garage, we got Rudy Kalma.
Let me do a little bit of a refresh myself because for some reason like the last two tracks like my memory just like lapsed. So
Word.
I just need I don't know why. It happens like that. Sometimes like I watch Nas and he seems like he has really bad memory.
Yeah.
And he like forgets a lot of lyrics. I was like, man, I'm ending up just like Nas. So I need to
It's because you have so many words in your head.
Yeah, it's
all the things that you're writing and everything.
Yeah.
Like it's kind of also like legendary when you hear about people who don't use any written lyrics, right? Like you hear about Jay-Z being like that. And then recently I was listening to the engineer of what's his face? Meek Mill. And he's supposedly just like that as well. It just comes in with it all constructed in his head, no written down thing.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck? Yeah. I can't remember like 8 bars.
Yeah.
Max, maybe. Like, but he has whole songs constructed.
I've read and heard like Jay-Z has a pretty impeccable memory.
Yeah.
Just from how he started writing, I guess because like he was traveling on a train and shit, like, and he didn't have a pen and pad. He would spend all that time just thinking about like his bars.
Yeah.
So, but yeah. All right, let's rock.
All right, let's go. What a time. Zone. I'm gonna bump the beat up.
Yo. Yes, sir. Let me get this right. Yes, sir.
I've been in my zone, I've been patient, I've been knocking down my obstacles for sure. I've been training, I've been humble, spent time mopping up the floor. Put my money where my mouth is, always writing out my wrong. Slowly see familiar faces congregating at my shows, yeah. I've been in my zone, yeah. I've been in my zone, I've been in my zone, yeah. 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 I've been in my zone. Trojan horses at the gate, I won't let them in no way. Draw the line with some white chalk, cause if this war, this is your fate. Keep assumptions to yourself and I won't slap you in your face. Didn't think I'd still be living or be running at this pace. I'm pacing back the 3-point line, I'm Reggie Miller, fade away. In 8th grade I almost took my life, a rusty razor blade was on my neck. I held my breath, held my fucking breath. By my desk, a grimace on my face, a stone within my chest. Boy, I'm blessed, I've tussled with the devil, don't poke at my chest. Who up next? That's some funny shit, that's a fucking stretch. Boy, you slept, I knock you out, yo easy if you stanky breath. Cause if you see me on this stage, I swear to God, I feel possessed. I've been in my zone, 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 yeah. 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 Sour diesel gassing for my people, Filipino eagle, elevated, hunting for some prey. My talent's very lethal. What you mean? It's a drama show when Rudy hit the ring. Let it rain, busting shots at you with fire in your stream. I don't dream, I just execute, and that's by any means. My routine consists of discipline and fucking up the scene. It's a breeze when you've been destined for this music thing, it seems. I'ma bring up my familiar and my motherfucking team. It was always in my head, it wasn't planned to be, but it was meant to be, and it was always in my head. Afraid of failure, but the biggest danger will be following the trend. Like a sailor anchored in the open seas, you gotta take a risk and ride the open breeze. We're not an accident, we got a purpose, see. I mean, I've been in my zone, hey, I've been in my zone, hey, I've been in my zone, yeah. 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 Hey, bro, that was pretty solid. That was pretty solid.
That was fucking good, bro. This is like a legit jam to ride out to.
Thank you.
I've been listening to this while riding on my bike, fam.
Say that again?
I've been listening to this while riding on my bike.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, just riding
It's
around.
a bright track. It's very bright, very vibrant.
Yeah, very bouncy, like a good amount of like energy and all.
Yeah.
But what a time.
What a time. This one, yeah. I'll just let it speak for itself. Can we turn the monitor up a little bit? Okay, cool. Yes. Verbal manifesto, right into my death note. Ako si Rudy Kalma, coming from the west coast, tuning through my drama. Trying to make it less though, taking all the drama. Tracing with my pen strokes, yeah. Organize a food for thought like a bento meal. Boy, I'm trying to cut my costs, fuck a rental deal. Owning what I got on my 10 toes will keep my sword on guard, I won't bend no nail. I'm defying, addressing all my colors like a stylist. Trying to calm the troubles with my highness. Pop the tire, riding through the night it gleams. Lonely in this dying spring, gotta keep my focus. Silence, guide me through the night. Gotta up my dosage. Violence all around my sides. I find it different how I'm feeling in this quarter of my life. Oh, I'm deprived, but I'm alive. Oh, what a time. What a time. What a time. Ollie on the keys, Micah on the trumpet. Yes. Yeah, oh what a time in the summertime. Rest in peace Anita Wilson, another mother cries, another father cries. Voices harmonize, singing more for terror stricken, grief is very patternized.
Stream of thoughts, interference as I'm living lost. People puffing on their ism, it's a prison lock. Or free in thought, depends on who you not and on where you're at and the things you got. I ought to keep my pause in motion, ever alter motives. The ever-changing cities in my automotive. From Palo Alto, Daly City to the town of Oakland. The in-between the two extremes and those who out and homeless. Yeah, California on fire. Yeah, we be chillin' though. Vibrate higher. Suffering is living, is it really though? Is it really though? Yes, sir. Gotta keep my focus, silence guide me through the night. Gotta up my dosage, violence all around my sides. I find it different how I'm feeling in this quarter of my life. Oh, I'm deprived, but I'm alive. Oh, what a time. Yeah, was living by my alma mater, delivering pies. All the while I made the album Diminishing Ties. All the while my student debt was increasing in size. All the while my prima women is willing to ride. I'm willing to die, willing to cry, willing to mind. Papa Willie on them, the pocket really defined by the hand. Connected to the soul of the man. Cautionary tales kept me wholesome, I am who I am. Credits to my folks understand, I am nothing but a product of the ghosts who laid the path that I've chosen to stand. Walk the line, plot, design, spot the lie. Modify the hardest times, developing my so I seeking the harsh winds. Dark skin, meeting the shine, marching, heat of the battle. Now my movement defined by my travels in this universe. Let the melody rise, Yes, yes. Oh, what a time. Gotta keep my focus, silence guide me through the night. Gotta up my dosage, violence all around my sides. I find it different how I'm feeling in this quarter of my life. Oh, I'm deprived, but I'm alive. Oh, what a time. Yes, 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 Lord.
Trumpet.
Yup. They killed it.
Shout out the musicians again. Who are they?
We got Ollie on the keys and Mike on the trumpet.
How do you know them?
I met them through Sejo Froggy because he was like in a jazz band for school and stuff. And these are jazz players, so they really just went in and they just ripped it from the jump. Like all I needed to do was kind of organize some things, but they just did some jazzy like impromptu type stuff, and I was like loving it. I was just like Birdman, like pumped, just like this is amazing right now. But I'm so excited to do this, and that was my first time mixing trumpet too, like tracking and mixing a trumpet. So it was really cool experience doing the live elements like that.
Bro, as 1 year out of producing, this shit is clean as fuck, man.
Well,
like especially Zone. I would say.
What a Time was one of those beats early on. I produced it, the foundation of it last year, and I was just kind of stuck on it for a while. It was taking a really long time to get that shit done, or getting any track that I felt like I could rap over, any of my own beats that I wanted to rap over. But I knew What a Time was special. There was something about it. Maybe it was just the loop, the groove of it, and just the BPM and everything. Like I love being within like the 90s BPM. Like 94 to like 98, 99. So I love that. But, so it was taking such a long time. And then I was kind of like I was struggling with creating at that point. Like I wasn't really writing a lot and I wasn't doing too much producing either. And then Mac Miller died. And that kind of like took me to this weird place where like, like, damn, bro, like, he's such a figure in hip hop. He's such a big figure in hip hop. And also just like growing up, all my homies, all of them listening to Mac Miller and just vibing out to his songs, and knowing him as a producer, doing his own shit. Like, I guess like it just it gave me his death gave me some sort of weird, just driving push to start
taking all these beats to the next level. So I finished up What a Time, and then I did Zone. And Zone was a faster one. Zone was like a matter of like a day, like 2 days.
Damn.
Yeah, in terms of just the bass of it and just editing where the hats would go at that point, right? Post-production after the vocals are in. So I was actually really surprised. Zone was like low key, as like sonically, it doesn't sound like Travis Scott's "Stop Trying to Be God," but I heard the harmonica in that song, and I was like, damn, I want a harmonica in that track. And so my favorite thing in that track is the harmonica.
Interesting.
Yeah.
My favorite part of it is actually the drums and the bass. In
Yeah.
the beginning of how it's more of the drums are an 8-bar, right, instead of a 4-bar loop.
Oh yeah.
It's an 8-bar that's
Yeah.
very like bouncy. It's not just a strict 1, 2, 3, 4, 1.
Yeah.
And
What's funny was that I was setting. This was like for me. It's a flash release. I didn't have much like promotion for it, right, on Instagram. My manager's like, just in shambles, like, bro, like, you got to promote this. But I was like, oh, we don't have time because I want to put it out already, because What a Time is like time sensitive to, what I was speaking on last year, and it's already 2019. So I just wanted to get it out. And so when I was doing the final mix, I noticed that all my drums were just loops. And I was like, oh, fuck, I forgot about like editing the drums and like, making it unique. And so I spent like 2 days of like 12-hour sessions, 16-hour sessions of just working on like the hi-hats and the drums and the snares and stuff. And so, yeah.
Damn.
Yeah, because I was like, wow, I didn't spend any time like switching things up when I was doing the mix. I was just focusing on mixing at that point, and I realized how stale it was. Like, so that's why all the kicks are kind of unique. Every 4 bars there's something different, a little bit different about the kicks or like the hi-hat patterns and stuff like that.
Some of the content. I heard like rusty blade to the neck.
Oh, yeah.
What's behind that?
So in Zone, I talk about like a moment where like I was like gonna commit suicide, and this was like in the 8th grade, and I was just like having a hard time, and I was getting a lot of trouble in school. Like I got caught like forging like my report cards and stuff, and like I felt like I was gonna get expelled. I feel like, but I didn't. Surprisingly, just to go on a tangent, I feel like I got saved because I was doing theater actually in junior high as well, and the principal was the drama director, and I feel like he gave me some sort of leeway. And isn't that crazy, right? Like, if like people who find potential in you, or if you're talented, you get leeway for certain things, whether it's really bad or just like a mistake that you have happened to have done and you shouldn't do again. But that's just a whole nother conversation. But so, yeah, and I was just feeling down again. I didn't have writing to back me up. I couldn't express myself. I felt like I let my family down, and like, thinking I was gonna get expelled. I was like wasting their money, wasting their time and stuff like that. I was just like, I had this firm thing in my head. I was like, I'm gonna kill myself, and it was like after school, like my mom and my dad are at work, and I was just like in my room, and I had like for the sake of the rhyme, I said razor blade, but it was just like a kitchen knife, It was a kitchen knife. It was a kitchen knife, and then so I was just like, it was like just right there, I was just right there. I had no clue if I was gonna do it or not, I was just right there. And then my little brother walked in, and he was like, he was very young at this point. He was born in 2003, so this is 2008, so he's only like 5, right? So he walked in, and I just stopped, like, I just because I was shocked that he came in the room and stuff. And then that was kind of the end of that. I don't think my brother remembers. Maybe it's just somewhere far back in his memory. But yeah, that's what I was referencing.
Thanks for sharing.
Yeah, no doubt.
Because that's just some heavy things that a lot of people go through, but we don't necessarily talk about it all the time. Like, I've had some homies like talk to me about their lows and like come at me, and it comes as a surprise. Like, damn, you were really considering that?
Yeah.
And it sucks that I'm only told like after the fact, right? That I'm happy that they've gotten through it, but it's like sucks also that you had to experience that or go through it yourself.
Yeah.
And by yourself too, right? But I'm glad that people are more talking about it so that folks who do have those experiences don't feel alone.
Yeah, no doubt.
yeah.
That's exactly why I said it. I was just like, I don't want anyone who may not know what they want to do yet or how they want to express themselves. I don't ever want them to see them in the position that I was in when I was like that young. It's a constant fight, I think mental health is a big subject and theme in my music, just because I live with it, right? And like, it's one of those mysterious things. You wonder why you feel so heavy about things and why you feel like, there's like these negative forces like in your head and they're like speaking to you and telling you to do something that you shouldn't do and stuff like that. But yeah.
What got you through it or got you to a better place after that little moment with your brother and you stopped? What kind of shifted things for you that you didn't return to that point?
Yeah, so this was 8th grade. I mean, high school came. That's when I discovered hip hop music. So that kind of kept me balanced and that kept me upright for the most part. And I don't know like any deep answer, but I was just occupied. After that point, like I was occupied. Like I felt like I was a little happier at that point in life. And then like junior year and senior year though were pretty bad. Like for my just kind of like where my headspace was at in high school. But I don't think I've ever reached that point like it was in the 8th grade, like where I was like really like that close. And like, again, I don't know if I would have done it, but yeah.
But still, like to get to that point, like
Yeah,
at
so-
8th grade too. Like what are you like 13? Like that?
Yeah,
12, 13
yeah.
in 8th grade? Damn. And I mean, I'm glad that you have told your story. You do have a platform that people listen to it.
Yeah.
And that you are right now putting out good ass music.
Yeah.
Right. I wanted to ask about another mention though. I think it was one time you mentioned Palo Alto. Why you shout out Palo Alto? What's the story behind that?
Oh, it's because, this was a time where I started driving Lyft a lot, right? And I would spend 2-3 days out of the week coming here to the Bay Area and driving people. And, because my parents are here, so I could just sleep over.
Yeah.
I sleep over at my manager's house because he lives in the Mission. And so for me, when they say the Bay Area has changed, you could definitely see that right in front of you if you live at a certain place in the Bay Area. But you can really see it change when you're driving through the entire Bay Area at a constant rate, right? And I'm going through Palo Alto and seeing, and like Mountain View areas and stuff like that, seeing Google and all the other big companies that are there. And then you see like the older there's the new section of the town and old section. Then you see old Palo Alto, and it's like, it's not like the ghetto, but it's just like more, it's noticeably like from an older place, older moment of time. You definitely see that in San Francisco. The Mission District is really gentrified right now. I actually had a passenger. It was 5 a.m. because I would start pretty early. That's where you can make the most money with the least amount of traffic and trouble, in terms of, and people generally are in better moods because their day hasn't started yet. And so they're a little
At 5 a.m.? Yeah.
Or like just
Like
commute 5 a.m.
around-
starting at 5 a.m. But
Yeah.
like once I hit 7, we have I get the commuters going to their work, and they're a little more positive because no bullshit has happened yet. So I got this dude from the Mission District, 5 a.m. I pick him up and I notice his destination is just like around the corner. It's like, what is this? And he's like, hey man, I actually don't need you to drive me anywhere. He's like, I'm really new in this town, and I heard like a woman screaming like help, like someone's attacking me, and then he's like, yeah, can you like drive around the block for me? And I'm like, okay. I was like, fuck it.
So he didn't get in the car?
No, he did get in the car with me,
okay.
and he was like scoping it out, and
Okay.
then if we're going around the block and then there's an alleyway that splits in between, the house on this side, house on that side. And then he's like, yeah, the voices came out of there because that's where my window is, that alley. And I'm like, cool. It looks like, it's just like a bunch of homeless people sleeping. He's like, yeah, can you like drive through there for me? I'm like, what? And so we drove through there and he's like, yeah, I just moved here. I'm super new here. I was like, that's why you're so fucking paranoid. Granted, if you do hear someone like help, you should investigate a little bit or maybe like notify police or whatever. But it was probably just like someone who unfortunately, is homeless or has a mental health issue or maybe on drugs currently. That was just kind of belting. To people walking through the city, maybe even sometimes in Daly City, you hear that and you kind of just like turn the other way because it's just so normalized in your life. But yeah, there's a lot of like new people, new faces that you could tell like they don't live here.
Yeah.
Like they haven't even spent like 5 years here yet or nothing like that.
The homie Joe who grew up around here, Westboro area, every time he's like, bro, there's so many like non-Filipinos now, like up in this area, especially when there's new developments, new people moving in, versus when he grew up, it was all just like Asians and Filipino, like right around here growing up. And it's starting to overflow into Daly City, man.
Yeah.
The cost of living for rent and all that starting to go up here too. It's like that overflow.
Yeah.
It's a little bit scary because I don't want the Filipino community to be pushed out because some are already moving out to like Hercules and like P-Town and all. And
I have this massive like conspiracy like type of like futuristic what do you call it? It's a not the utopia, a dystopian future where like like I think of like California as like Rome. And then one day California is just gonna fall, just like all of California, because people are moving out. But that just means like everyone's just gonna keep moving. Like I don't know where else to go. Like how far can you move in California? Like in a comfortable situation where there's resources, the same resources around you where you used to live.
Yeah.
And I just feel like I have this massive thing in my head, like wow, California really about to be like done in like 70 years, 50 years. That's just like a random thing I was thinking
interesting.
That's my English major. Like,
people analyze the U.S. like that in terms of being this big old superpower.
Yeah.
And over time, it's losing certain positions because of critique, because of bad things that they've done, over expansion, right? Even of like military might, right? And that's what happened with Rome and all these even like if you look back, Japanese Empire, right? And like claiming space without having the capacity to maintain itself internally and all. And even California, right? You've seen those statistics of it being like the third to fifth largest economy, like as a country, like as if it was its own country, just California itself. But if you go up north or even drive through, there's a lot of empty land. Yeah. Right? It's just that we're all concentrated in these cities because of job opportunity. That's where it's all at.
I think there's like there's something I came across where it was like in San Francisco, I think it's just about 1 million actual residents. Correct me if I'm wrong, but maybe but I think the comparison still stands, but it's like 1 million residents, but during the work week, it jumps up to like 2 million people in the city, right? So
crazy.
It's crazy.
I have folks who commute from like Hercules to work in San Francisco in the morning just because that's where a good job is.
Yeah.
And
I got family in Hercules too. Yeah.
Yeah, even not even like salary jobs, but like service jobs.
Yeah, right. That's crazy.
Like just to do it, just there, just like working as a barista.
Yeah.
But commuting all the way in the morning just because the job is okay there.
Yeah. I get tech people who I drive sometimes, and I ask them like, I'm not sure if it's clickbait, but is a 6-figure income sustainable for a individual's one person lifestyle? And they're like, no. Like you still need housemates, roommates, and stuff like that. Like even with 6 figures, it's hard to maintain. I guess if you wanted to live by yourself, it's really hard. Like you have to do a lot of budgeting and a lot of like saving or whatever.
How fucking crazy is that?
It's crazy.
Fucking crazy. But I go to school and my major is social welfare. The projections of certain careers in that field is not that great in terms of salary, right? And then I have some classmates who are doing CS, computer science, and I hear through the grapevine of what job offer they get. Like, this dude gets, like, my roommate's friend got a job offer right out of college for a 135 a year, 135K, bro.
Yeah.
I'm like, damn. But that's almost normal in the tech world for folks who like code and do that type of work. But at the same time, the increase in cost for a place in San Francisco, like I saw this map of neighborhoods and how many minimum wage jobs you need to have a apartment or just something to live in like Excelsior district was like four minimum, 4 to 7, something like that, like just for a small apartment. So it's crazy. I don't really know where it is. I'm no economist. I just know the issues that are there, and it is just crazy that it's all happening. But I use all the apps. I'm one motherfucking hypocrite, bro, because I'm on Google all day. So Facebook or IG and everything. So it's a weird thing where other people who probably think about these things more, they have some critique or some direction where it's going, but I just make my podcast, man. Let's just see how it goes and see what these politicians and all do just in the end of it. Coming to more on the end, I like asking, thinking about your life story and your creative side too, and your journey through school, whether that is also the Catholic school, also going to UC Davis, or maybe to a young creative. What 3 pieces of advice would you give to your younger self or a younger person with a similar story as yourself?
Stay disciplined in what you want to do, because talent can only get you so far, and talent will eventually fade too. Whereas if you keep your discipline, you're at least the decline. Eventually, it all comes to a decline. But when you're disciplined, you keep up a little bit more. Whereas, like, if you're just focusing on your talent, things change around you, and you're just gonna start declining. So, stay disciplined. Stay disciplined. Be humbled by all the experiences you have, and really soak it in, really soak in all the things that you learn in life and all the things that you go through, because that'll help you move forward. And also just, there's like straight up some like Gary Vee shit, like love the process. I actually identified with him a lot when I was making The Labor. Some of his like stuff too he repeats a lot, because essentially he's kind of right. Like, what alternative is there but going forward? And like, you have to love the work, the process of the work. And I really identified with that when he said that. Like, I just keep my head down at what I'm working on, as opposed to just looking at the future. I try not to compare my come up to people's highlights. You know what I mean? And I think people start getting discouraged because they spend X amount of time doing this, but then they see, oh, this dude spent this much time doing that, and he's at a way bigger platform than I am. It's like, oh, that's a sign that I'm not meant for this. It's like, no, everyone has their own way to success, and it all has to you just distract yourself with the work that you're doing, especially if you love it, and then make it fun, and you're gonna get to the place that you want to be. I firmly do believe that. I firmly believe that if you are in a field that you love and you are just completely focused on your work, one day you're gonna look up and see all the things that you've accomplished over the period of time, and be like, I may not be here yet, but I've done a lot of shit. I'm a pretty small time artist. I'm not even like, I get decent streams and stuff, right? but like my music videos, I don't have a lot of music videos. I'm in just like a following. I don't have a huge following, but I'm optimistic in a sense that I know what I want to do and I know how I want to execute it, and I have the discipline to see it through and commit. I'll be there one day. I'll be there one day. Yeah.
And what was the third? What was that 3?
Oh yeah,
you said discipline,
discipline,
trust, like the process.
trust the
in a
process,
sense.
and what about a literal one? Get some sleep. Sleep is important. Do the essentials, you know?
In terms of discipline, what does your daily schedule look like in terms of also taking into account production and creating this project? Like in the framework of being creative, what does it look like? What do you focus on in terms of creating music? How do
Is
you
this
manage that?
assuming like I have the day to just
Is
am
it
I, working?
Let's do an average, right? Taking into account that you are still working like a
Yeah.
lift job. Sometimes you mix things like that. What does it look like? How do you stay grounded so that you still get the work done for your project? In terms of either Labor of Love or this upcoming one, what does that balance look like?
Usually I'm just going. I'm just like pushing through and just experimenting. I start, like making beats and stuff, and eventually I'll start writing. But let's say if I'm stuck, right? If I'm stuck on something, then I'll double back and start like educating myself on certain things, certain subjects, and finding answers. If you're stuck on something, find the answer. That's really big. Like don't dwell on it. Don't let it go, because you're gonna find yourself in the same situation where you're creating, and then you have that same issue, and then you're like, oh, I guess I'll stop for now. But if you know what you're struggling at, you should look towards fixing it and finding a solution towards it, because then the door's open, right?
I like asking, what do you consider yourself as in terms of Filipino American? Do you consider yourself American now that you're a citizen? How do you label and view yourself in terms of that migration story?
Well, I definitely consider it's like both, It's like I'm Filipino. I was born in the Philippines. I speak Tagalog. I'm immersed in the culture, within my family space and stuff. But I'm also Filipino American just because I was raised here like most of my life. I don't really try to separate the two. And in terms of like being like, oh, I'm just American. I mean, I did take, you take that oath when you become a citizen and stuff. And it's like, I sometimes I think on that. It's like, wow, I really like denounce my ties to my country. That's essentially what you do. You denounce your ties, and you pledge an oath to the United States or wherever you're at. I think about that too, but I'm Filipino. I'm Filipino American, like to the core, and it has American in it. Definitely American, but in a more spiritual sense. I don't want to get it tied up with being like colorblind. I don't think that's like a great term, because it like ignores real things in history that have happened and real structures and stuff like that. But I do consider myself more and more. The more I'm able to navigate my identity, the more I can kind of see the world around me. I try to consider myself like a world citizen. Like, try to just kind of keep my eyes open for everything. Not be numb just because like someone else somewhere else is like struggling with something. I have to care about that too. I have to practice like being that type of empathy and compassion towards people outside of yourself.
That you're a globalist, bro. You're part of the one world order. If
Yeah,
we
yeah,
talk
yeah.
about immortal technique, fam.
Yeah.
No, but I appreciate that perspective of a global citizen. You don't have a lot of that in today's kind of discussions, especially about immigration and all. But that is a good perspective. Do you have any last messages, call outs, shout outs before we move on? Any shout outs?
Shout out to my family for raising me, my titas, who I used to, come over and spend my time with, and they showed me what a good family day looks like, with church, some brunch, some nice dinner, you know what I mean? Go to a diner, shit like that. Shout out to my whole family, all my blood. Shout out to my partner for being very patient with me as a creative. Shout out to everyone who has shown genuine support in what I'm pursuing, because that type of real love and energy, it fuels me to keep going and working hard. Shout out to the squad, Rogue Wave. Shout out to all my other any other creative affiliates, creative partnerships that relationships that I've maintained with people. Shout out to KuyaChris for having me on the podcast. I was scared as fuck, bro. Like I said, I'm a hermit. I'm a recluse. It's like, fuck am I gonna do here? Like talking for 2 hours? I'm looking at MC Zuko shit. It's like, fuck, that's just 2 hours. I look at Isabel's. It's like, fuck, 2 hours and 30 minutes. I was like, I'm kind of scared, man. I'm scared.
We did 2 hours, bro.
I know. It was a flash. I looked at the clock. I was like, wow, I'm really doing this shit. Maybe I can start a podcast too.
Bro, you should. Yeah. I always encourage more people to do podcasts because it gives me more shit to listen to. Yeah. Right? Because especially, you don't see a lot of podcasts. I love podcasts, bro.
Not only just like educational ones, because I listen to like mixing podcasts and stuff like that, music podcasts, but also like I like the Joe Rogan podcast and the shit the shit that they talk about. Having like Mike Tyson on. I watched the one with Mike Tyson.
Oh, that was hilarious. Dope.
I didn't know he experimented with drugs like that. I was like, okay, go ahead, man. You live your life, bro.
Exploration of life and personality changes. Yeah. Sometimes we get caught up in the patterns that we live. Sometimes that's like a tool.
You need an eye opener a little bit.
Yeah. Hey, you wanna go Colombia? Huh? South America? What? Not here.
No, not here.
Where it's legal. But yeah, I do get a lot of podcasts. Thank you for coming on. I do appreciate it.
Thank you.
I get a lot out of just listening to people and talking to like it gives me a chance to ask the questions that I want, especially when I'm listening to music, right? Yeah. When I'm listening to your piece, I'm like, oh, I wonder why he said that, right? And then now I can actually ask. And as a fellow creative who likes making music, poetry, and mixing too, it becomes... It's actually a very selfish thing why I have the podcast, because I get to ask what I want, right? And at the same time, I feel it is an opportunity to share because our stories are definitely worth sharing.
Yeah.
And it's not always shared. It's not always in the limelight. It's not always like the center of discussion, right? And I think coming from like an ethnic studies framework and thinking that we are worth studying. We are worth writing our own stories also. And I feel like this is one avenue to do that. That's why I want more people to do it too. And hopefully we get that. Cash! Filipino restaurants, Jollibee, you want to sponsor? How can people get in contact with you? And what can people look out for?
All my social media is at Rudy Kalma, RUDYKALMA. I'm pretty responsive to everything. So Instagram is the first thing. Hit me with a DM if you're interested. And if it's a performance opportunity, we could discuss that further. What to look forward to, just some good music, projects, some experimentation, and some ceiling breaking and creating some sort of positive impact. Shout out to everyone who's paved the way so far. Like shout out to Ruby, shout out to the beat rock crew, because those are people I'm now that I'm seeing that type of visibility in Pinoys in hip hop, or like MCs in hip hop, Pinoy MCs in hip hop. Not only am I motivated by that, but I can really identify with them because they're Filipino too, and they speak on things that are directly talking to me. Whereas I listen to Nas and he's talking about some some things that are more so within his community, even though they can kind of bleed over to different communities. But hearing it directly from your folk is different. So it inspires me, and all the things that they talk about, not just the people who are making it, the people who are on the come up, like me, you know, like MC Zuko, like the Soul Vision crew. You know, they inspire me. They're nice with the keys.
Bro, they're
Savage Mind, real
musicians.
Savage Mind. He's nice with the keys. Shout out to Savage Mind. Shout out
his
Nico.
flow.
Yeah.
Bro, it's almost overwhelming how much there is in the Bay, and it's fucking. I can't wait.
They're gonna be a hit.
Everyone is on the cusp. Like, I feel there's just going to be a time in the next 2 years where it's gonna pop off for these folks, and I'm hella excited because I am first and foremost a big fan of a lot of these musicians and these artists. So I'm super excited. I'm surprised I did not actually ask you yet. Where does Rudy Kalma come from? Your government name is
Rudy Lopez.
Rudy Lopez.
Actually, that's not my government name.
Is Rudolph Lopez.
Yeah, so because my Lola's name, rest his soul, is Rodolfo. Yeah.
And then, so where did
I
Rudy
become-
Kalma come from?
Yeah, so I'm not gonna say my very first MC moniker. That's for you. That's for you. You trying to slip? You trying to trick me?
Come on!
But eventually, I got to being called Rude Boy, and for me, it was like I just couldn't take myself seriously. Like, I don't like responding to that. Like, really, I started thinking about it. It's like, I don't really want people calling me Rude Boy. Like,
Where'd that come from? Did you?
because
did
when I
somebody-
was in school, like people like when I was in middle school, I had these girls, and then they would just like sing "I'm a rude boy," na, 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 the Rihanna joint.
the Rihanna song.
And so I thought about that, and also I didn't want to like appropriate anything or like make that like hover over the real culture, you know. So I eventually became Rudy Kalma. And the process of that was just finding a cool name that I kind of would like identify with. And then I feel like I make pretty mellow music, even though I have some pretty like amp type songs. Like I said, my most favorite tracks are like things like The Labor, Below the Noise. And those are really like melancholy, somber. Pizza Man too, very somber sounding songs. And so Kalma are just like, it's Spanish for calm, and I think it's, you know, Tagalog too, translates damn near the same.
Yeah.
But yeah, Rudy Kalma.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now we have that story. I was wondering where Kalma came from, but I guess it is the Kalma, and I see it in the music. It is more on that mellow tip. I
Yeah.
think that's why I resonate with it. It's very inspired by like that post boom bap where it still has that steady beat, but it's not a hard hit.
Yeah.
But then it's a very mellow, but you can ride it and
Yeah.
still put in a lot of words.
That's like my
in
pocket.
it.
That's like my element.
Yeah.
in music.
Dope. Do you have any last messages for anyone?
You know, stay up, keep grinding. You know, push hard. Find your passion. Find your passion. Find your voice, and that's pretty much it. I'm trying to do the same. So yeah.
Word. Thanks for coming on, brother. This was
Thank you for
hella-
having me.
Excited.